The Bermuda Triangle swallows ships whole. All Caribbean islands are tiny tropical paradises. Jamaica is just one big beach resort. If you believe any of these, you've been lied to. Today, we're debunking 25 fake Caribbean geography facts that everyone thinks are true. Number 17 will blow your mind. Let's dive in. Fact 1.
The Caribbean Sea and Atlantic Ocean don't mix.
The myth. There's a clear line where the Caribbean Sea and Atlantic Ocean meet, and they never mix. The truth? This viral photo showing two different colored waters is actually misleading. While you can sometimes see color differences due to sediment, depth, or algae, the waters absolutely do mix. Ocean currents constantly blend these bodies of water. There's no magical boundary keeping them separate. Fact 2. The Bermuda Triangle is in the Caribbean. The myth? The Bermuda Triangle is a Caribbean phenomenon. The truth, the Bermuda Triangle is actually mostly in the Atlantic Ocean, not the Caribbean Sea. Its 3 points are Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. Bermuda itself is 1,000 miles north of the Caribbean, sitting isolated in the Atlantic, so calling it a Caribbean mystery is geographically incorrect. Fact 3. All Caribbean islands are tropical paradises. The myth. Every Caribbean island is a palm tree-lined beach paradise. The truth. The Caribbean has incredible diversity. Aruba is actually semi-arid desert with cacti. Parts of Haiti are severely deforested. Some islands have volcanic landscapes with black sand beaches. Trinidad has oil refineries and industrial zones. The paradise image is marketing, not reality for many areas. Fact 4. The Caribbean is one country. The myth. People often refer to going to the Caribbean as if it's one place. The truth. The Caribbean contains 13 sovereign nations, 12 dependent territories, and over 7,000 individual islands. Each has distinct governments, currencies, languages, and cultures. Saying the Caribbean is like saying Europe. It's a region, not a country. Fact 5. Jamaica is flat and coastal throughout. Jamaica has the Blue Mountains reaching 7,402 feet high. The island has rainforests, rivers, waterfalls, and even areas where it gets cold enough for sweaters. Over 60% of Jamaica is actually mountainous terrain, not beaches. Fact 6. Caribbean islands are all tiny. The myth. All Caribbean islands are small vacation spots you can drive around in an hour. The truth. Cuba is 780 miles long, about the distance from New York to Chicago. Hispaniola, Haiti, and Dominican Republic is the second largest island. Trinidad is 1864 square miles. These aren't tiny dots on the map, they're substantial land masses with major cities. Fact 7. The Caribbean has no mountains. The myth. The Caribbean is all flat beaches and lowlands. The truth. Pico Duarte in the Dominican Republic reaches 10,128 feet. That's higher than any mountain east of the Mississippi River in the USA. Multiple Caribbean islands have peaks over 5,000 feet with actual mountain ecosystems. Fact 8. Hurricane season means constant storms. The myth. The Caribbean is constantly battered by hurricanes from June to November. The truth. Hurricane season doesn't mean daily storms. Many years pass with islands experiencing zero direct hurricane hits. Some islands like Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao sit outside the hurricane belt entirely and almost never see storms. Fact 9. The Caribbean is always hot. The myth. It's perpetually summer, with temperatures in the 90s year-round. The truth. Temperatures typically range from 75–85 degrees Fahrenheit, not the scorching heat people imagine. Mountain areas can drop into the 50s and 60s. The trade winds provide constant cooling. It's actually more moderate than many U.S. states in summer. Fact 10. All islands speak Spanish. The myth. Spanish is the language of the Caribbean. The truth. English is actually spoken in more Caribbean territories than Spanish. There's also French, Dutch, Creole languages, Papiamento, and more. The linguistic diversity reflects centuries of different colonial powers and indigenous influences. Fact 11. The Caribbean has no native population. The myth. Indigenous people were completely wiped out centuries ago. The truth. Descendants of the Taino, Kalinago Caribs, and other indigenous people still live throughout the Caribbean. Dominica has a Kalinago territory. DNA studies show many Caribbean people have indigenous ancestry. The culture wasn't erased, it evolved and persisted. Fact 12. Caribbean islands are all volcanic. The myth. All Caribbean islands formed from volcanic activity. The truth. The Caribbean has both volcanic islands and coral limestone islands. The Bahamas, the Cayman Islands, Barbados, and Anguilla are limestone formations built by coral, not volcanoes. They have completely different geology and topography. Fact 13. You can island hop easily. The myth. Many people imagine that Caribbean islands are tiny and packed closely together so you can casually take a boat or flight between them within a few hours. The truth. In reality, the Caribbean spans a huge area, over 1,000 miles from Trinidad in the south to Cuba in the north. Distances between islands are often longer than expected. While ferries exist, they usually operate on only a few routes and are not frequent. For example, a ferry from Puerto Rico to the Dominican Republic is possible, but traveling from one of the Lesser Antilles to another might require several stops or even flying through the US or another hub. Planning an island hopping trip requires careful research. It's not as spontaneous as tourist brochures suggest. Fact 14. The Caribbean has no wildlife. The myth. Tourists often believe the only life in the Caribbean is birds on the beaches or tropical fish in the water. The truth. The Caribbean is a biodiversity hotspot with species found nowhere else on Earth. Examples include Cuban crocodile, a rare species restricted to Cuba's Zapata swamp, Jamaican iguana, thought extinct until rediscovered in the 1990s, Hispaniolan solenodon, a tiny nocturnal mammal resembling a shrew, found only in Hispaniola, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic, Caribbean monk seal, once widespread, now extinct, manatees. Gentle sea cows inhabit coastal waters and rivers in places like Belize and Puerto Rico. Bird life. Trinidad alone has more bird species than the entire United States. There are endemic species like the Puerto Rican parrot, the blue-headed hummingbird, and flamingos in Bonaire. The Caribbean is far from lifeless. It's a haven for wildlife lovers and conservationists. Fact 15. Caribbean beaches have white sand. The myth. Everywhere you go, Caribbean beaches are perfectly white, soft, and sandy. The truth. Beach sand in the Caribbean is extremely varied, shaped by geology and local ecology. Black volcanic sand. Dominica, Street Lucia, Martinique, created from volcanic lava and magma. These beaches can look dramatic, but are often hot underfoot. Pink sand. Bermuda and some parts of the Bahamas have sand with a natural pink hue from crushed coral and shells. Golden tan sand. Common in areas like Barbados and parts of Jamaica. White sand, found mainly in coral-based islands like the Turks and Caicos. The iconic white sand beach image is true only in specific areas, not everywhere. Many beautiful beaches are actually black, pink, or golden, which surprises first-time visitors. Fact 16. The Caribbean is poor everywhere. The myth. Many assume Caribbean nations are uniformly underdeveloped, impoverished, or struggling economically. The truth. The region has immense economic diversity. Wealthy islands, Bahamas, Cayman Islands, and Bermuda are financial hubs with high GDP per capita, luxury tourism, and strong economies. Moderate economies, Jamaica, Barbados, Puerto Rico. Tourism and agriculture form the backbone of the economy. Struggling economies. Some smaller islands or less developed nations face economic challenges, infrastructure limitations, and high unemployment. Labeling the Caribbean as poor is a stereotype that ignores both wealth and inequality. It's a mosaic of rich financial centers, middle-income countries, and places still developing. Fact 17. Coral reefs surround every island. The myth. Everyone thinks all Caribbean islands are encircled by pristine coral reefs. The truth. Coral reefs are common, but not universal. Many islands have rocky shores. Some volcanic islands like Dominica and Montserrat have cliffs and rocky coasts instead of shallow reefs, sandy bottoms. In areas with heavy sediment or river runoff, coral cannot form easily. Dead reefs, climate change, rising sea temperatures, pollution, and overfishing have damaged reefs. For example, Belize's barrier reef has suffered from coral bleaching, and reefs around Puerto Rico are partially dead. Snorkelers and divers need to research specific locations rather than assuming every island offers the same underwater paradise. Fact 18. The Caribbean is tiny compared to the Mediterranean. The myth. Tourists often picture the Caribbean as a small, cramped sea compared to Europe's Mediterranean. The truth. The Caribbean Sea is vast, about 1,063,000 square miles, nearly double the Mediterranean's 965 square miles. It stretches from the Yucatan Peninsula to the Lesser Antilles, encompassing hundreds of islands. Its size supports massive marine biodiversity, numerous climates, and complex ocean currents. Calling it tiny is a big underestimate. Fact 19. Palm trees are native everywhere. The myth. Pictures of Caribbean beaches with coconut palms make people think they naturally grow on every island. The truth. Many palms were introduced by humans for aesthetic or tourism purposes. True native species exist, but many coconut palms were planted to create the paradise beach image. Island's natural vegetation is much more diverse. Rainforest in Dominica, scrubland in the Bahamas, mangroves in Belize. The classic palm-lined beach is often a design scene, not a reflection of original ecology. Fact 20. The Caribbean has no seasons. The myth. People imagine perfect weather every day, sun, warmth, and no rain all year. The truth. Caribbean weather has distinct seasonal patterns. Wet season, May-November, often with heavy tropical rains, thunderstorms, and occasional hurricanes. Dry season, December-April, sunnier and more stable weather, popular for tourists. Temperature fluctuations. Some islands are cooler in winter months, slightly warmer in summer. Agriculture relies on these seasons. Crops like sugar, bananas, and coffee grow in specific cycles. Thinking the Caribbean is always identical weather is a simplification. There's real seasonal variation. Fact 21. Caribbean islands are sinking. The myth. Climate change is actively submerging Caribbean islands right now. The truth. While sea level rise is a real long-term threat, Caribbean islands aren't currently disappearing. Many have mountainous terrain well above sea level. Low-lying coastal areas face risks, but the islands themselves aren't vanishing, though the threat is serious for future generations. Fact 22. The Caribbean has no fresh water. The myth. Islands can't have natural freshwater sources. The truth. Many Caribbean islands have rivers, waterfalls, lakes, and natural springs. Jamaica's rivers, Dominica's waterfalls, and Trinidad's wetlands provide abundant fresh water. Some smaller islands do rely on desalination, but many have natural water sources. Fact 23. Pirates ruled every island. The myth. Every Caribbean island was a pirate haven in the 1700s. The truth. Pirates operated primarily in specific areas like Nassau, Bahamas, Port Royal, Jamaica, and Tortuga, Haiti. Most islands were under firm European colonial control and actively fought pirates. The pirate paradise image is exaggerated by Hollywood. Fact 24. The Caribbean has no cities. The myth. The Caribbean is all resorts and villages, no real urban centers. The truth. Havana, Cuba has 2 million people. Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic has 3 million. Port-au-Prince, Haiti has over 2 million. Kingston, San Juan, and Trinidad have major metropolitan areas with skyscrapers, traffic, and full urban infrastructure. Fact 25. Caribbean islands are geologically stable. The myth. Nothing geological happens in the Caribbean anymore. The truth. The Caribbean sits on an active tectonic plate boundary. Haiti's devastating 2010 earthquake killed over 200,000 people. Volcanic eruptions still occur. La Soufriere in St. Vincent erupted in 2021. Earthquakes and volcanic activity remain real threats in many areas. There you have it, 25 completely fake geography facts about the Caribbean that people believe are true. The Caribbean is way more diverse, complex, and fascinating than the tourist brochures suggest. Which myth surprised you the most? Drop a comment below, and if you learned something today, smash that like button and subscribe for more geography truth bombs. I'll see you in the next video.